the way people misunderstand vulnerability in songs is saying something vulnerable in a song isn't all that vulnerable because of the amount of time you get to craft how you say it.
Ooh.
And I think vulnerability is inherently unprepared. Whereas songs, I take a very long time to exactly craft what I'm showing you about myself.
Hey friends, it's your girl Emily Curl, and we are back at our iHeartRadio studios in New York City, and we are hanging out with my pal JP Saxe is here. Can we give it up for JP Saxe in our building? JP, it's so nice to have you, and this is special for me because you were one of my very first interviews when I started at iHeart in 2020, and I was already such a fan of yours at the time.
It is special. Was It's Your Girl Emily Curl already in play?
We were testing it out. What do you think? Do you like it?
I think it's fantastic.
Because it's easy to remember, right?
It's the right
a little
combination of dorky and cute, which is all I'm ever really looking for.
I'll take it. I mean, I love that too. It's funny to think back to that time. I was like, going back to the interview, is If the World Was Ending had just come out. The pandemic hadn't happened.
What a world.
You hadn't released your album yet.
No.
Like, you still had so much ahead of you. Like,
Yeah.
isn't it crazy to think back to that time knowing what you know now?
Yeah. It really is. It's like, it's an interesting combination of emotions.
Yeah.
It feels simultaneously yesterday and 300 to 400 years ago.
Right? It's a weird thing. And then you dropped Dangerous Levels Introspection, your debut album, 2021. And I told you before that I was already such a huge fan of your songwriting and your lyricism, and I feel like this album was the perfect epitome of that. Like, now it's been out for a little bit, like when you think back on it, do you agree? Like, what takes you back to that album? What do you think about it now?
I think Dangerous Levels of Introspection felt like an accurate title for the body of work when I was locked in my home with my thoughts, and in retrospect, it just feels deeply pretentious. Like, it's just so many words. Dangerous Levels of Introspection. Like, if someone was like, I'm gonna name my album Dangerous Levels of Introspection, I'd be like, bro, like, be succinct. Like, that's too many. You're a writer, edit.
What would you rename it now?
Wordy.
Just wordy.
Maybe I would just go with wordy. I don't know what I would rename it. That's a good follow-up question. I haven't really thought about it. It's criticism without productivity, which is usually my version of self-talk.
Also introspective, I feel like.
I can't help it. The self-analysis will not go away. I try.
How would you describe like your songwriting style? Because I feel like you are so self-aware that you say a lot of the thoughts that a lot of us are afraid to say out loud. And not only do you say them out loud, but you also sing them in a song for millions of people to then hear.
Yeah, it's an exciting job to allow your intrusive thoughts to be the way people understand you. But I do think, in a way, it is symbolic of the way we are known as people in our lives, because your closest relationships are with the people who you are able to say the things you're most afraid to share to. They're the people who you can say the most vulnerable things to. That's how you build intimacy, by not allowing people close to the parts of yourself you've prepared, not allowing people close to your parts of yourself which you're proud of. It's allowing people close to the parts of yourself which are messier and complicated and scary and human. And I want to be close to my audience, so I have to show them those parts of myself in my songs.
At this point in your life, who is like your closest confidant? Like when you have like a thought or like an intrusive thought or something that you want to share, who do you call?
It's like a combination of like 8 people in Instagram stories. It's like, depending on the kind of thought, it's like one of 8 people.
Like the close friends Insta stories or all of the IG?
It's either one of 8 people or it's the mass public. Because there are things I'll put in songs that I would be afraid to say to people I love. Because I wouldn't know how to say it yet. And the thing about songs, I think the way people misunderstand vulnerability in songs is saying something vulnerable in a song isn't all that vulnerable because of the amount of time you get to craft how you say it.
Ooh.
And I think vulnerability is inherently unprepared. Whereas songs, I take a very long time to exactly craft what I'm showing you about myself.
I'm curious for you, how does a song start? Is it a thought that you had? Is it a line, a melody, a word? I'm sure your notes app is insane. But like, how does a song start?
It's always lyrics. Not to put you on the spot, but if you give me any one of the songs, I'll tell you how it started.
Okay, can I give you my favorite?
Yeah.
Tension.
Tension. So Tension was the first line of the song I had from a song I'd written years ago. I had a chorus that was, "You say things that you don't mean, way too fucking convincingly, and I don't know what I'm supposed to believe, what you whisper, what you scream." That was like something I had from a song years ago.
Wait, oh yeah, because that's
not
obviously not
that's not a thing.
Yeah, that's not how it, okay.
Because I liked the beginning, but I didn't love the ending. It didn't feel like the right payoff of the feeling, but I always appreciated the line. So then I was messing around with how it could start a song. You say things you don't mean, way too convincingly.
Oh, damn.
And then in the song, it's you take it back and then expect that it won't stick to me.
Oh, shit. That's good.
So it's usually like a journal entry or a line, and often the next song will come as a failed attempt at a previous one.
So it all just kind of builds off of each other.
Kind of. It's one of the benefits of basing all of your writing on your life. Like your source material is consistent.
I was going to ask you about that because I feel like, a lot of the stuff you write feels like very autobiographical. It feels very personal. How do you decide what's the line for you? And do you ever, as you're creating music, want to play with imagination or write a different type of album that's not so personal? Like, where's the line for you?
I can give you a couple answers to that.
Okay.
At the moment, I feel like the only subject matter I have any credibility on is my own life. I would feel as if speaking on anyone else's experience or any version of a story at this moment in time, I don't feel like I have as much nuance in what it feels like to be anything other than myself. Someday maybe I'll get bored of my life and I'll, make up a fantasy world and then write about what I think it might be like. And then in terms of like a line, there's a lot of lines I consider in art, but I'm going to answer, this wasn't entirely a question, but I'm going to tell you what my ethical line is.
No, please.
Anything I am feeling about a person, fair game. Things about a person, not fair game.
Right, okay.
And there's a difference between things about a person and your feelings about a person. Your feelings about people are your own. Things about those people are theirs. So that's how I distinguish what I can and can't share.
And now, obviously, you have a lot of your fans and just a lot of people that are invested in your personal life too. And especially as you navigate into this different level of fame. What was that transition like for you? Like, how do you navigate that?
Well, I think the majority of people who care about my music is way larger than the people who care about what the music's about. I also think the loudest people on the internet are often the people who care about what the music's about, and I love those people, and I'm grateful that they care. But I also think they represent like 2% of the people who listen to my music, because for the most part, songs matter to you because of why they matter to you, not because of why they matter to the person who wrote it.
Yeah, writing those songs, basing each other, off the other one. Is there a song that you wrote that you didn't change anything at all? That like it was the first idea that you had? You're like, I'm gonna keep this.
I don't think so.
Really?
I feel like everything went through a filter, an editing process to become what felt like the most distinct version of the idea. Actually, all of it absolutely did, because I wouldn't be able to write if I required myself to get it right the first time.
Oh.
I'm only able to write with giving myself the freedom to just put whatever I want on paper.
Do you get writer's block?
This is a controversial thought, but I don't actually think that's a thing.
You don't?
Yeah, I think writer's block is just a fear of being bad.
Huh.
But you have to be bad.
So do you write every day then?
I journal every day.
You journal every day. Do your journals make it into songs?
My songs are only from my journals.
The songs are from the journals?
All of them.
Wow.
But because I journal and then I read through it and I use it as source material for what the songs will be. Like I'll read through it and there'll be a line in it that I never expected to be a song, but upon returning to it, it feels like a verse or a pre-chorus or a verse.
I'm sure you keep all your journals. Do you ever go back through old ones and flip through and like find lines? Like,
yeah, I do it digitally. It's on an app. I'm nostalgic, but in a pragmatic, technological way.
I Don't Miss You. Let's talk about that one.
Okay.
Where did that idea get born from?
I haven't entirely figured out how to answer this question yet.
Okay.
Because it's like, that's a lie. Like the song title is in itself a lie. So I am most of that song lyrically is lying to itself. But it's sincere in that those are things that I have lied to myself about. I'm now going to pivot to giving you like a analytical, emotional answer instead of answering your direct question.
Wait, I love that you answer it in multiple different layers of all these questions. Okay, let's hear the answer.
So here's like me pivoting from the personal to me pontificating on what it means to be an emotional being.
Okay.
I think often when we feel things that we are not finding convenient or desirable as feelings we'd like to experience, we try and turn them into things that we would prefer to feel. And we look for different ways to turn them into ways we would prefer to feel things.
Instead of just stating them how it is.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was listening to that song and I feel like, I don't miss you, I just fantasize about you being someone who loves me. Like that line, I'm like, I could imagine myself saying that to my therapist in the confines of just her and I. Do you know what I mean? And so for you, do you feel like it's like a therapy for you? Was it crazy to admit something like that?
If I said to my therapist, I don't miss her, I just think about her all the time, she'd be like, you're an idiot. That's not how feelings work. You're just trying to frame this in a way that makes you less scared of yourself. And then I would say, go away. No, I wouldn't say go away. I'd be like, you're right, but just like, let me have this. I don't actually know what I would say.
And you also wrote the song with John Mayer.
Yeah, he is a part of that song.
Tell me how that came about.
So I didn't have the first line of the chorus. Originally, the first line of the chorus was, I don't miss you, I just fantasize about you with somebody who loves me. But people kept misunderstanding it.
How did you interpret that?
I just fantasize about you with somebody who loves me. Which was like slightly more salacious. But people were like, with somebody who loves me, like they're dating someone new who loves you? Like, it felt like more vague than I was looking for. So I sent the song to John. It was like, I like this, but I don't like the first line. Do you know what the first line should be? And he said, not right now, but come into the studio and I have a bunch of guitar ideas and then we can try and figure it out while I play the guitar.
Wow.
So I went into his studio and he played a bunch of guitar and then we talked about the line and we stumbled on fantasize about you being someone who loves me.
And had you worked with John before? Like,
Yeah.
how did y'all,
He
when
plays
did you
on the
guys
first
meet?
album too.
Oh, amazing.
He plays on a song called Here's Hopin' on album 1.
Oh my God, you know that's my other favorite.
Really? That's
Yes.
him playing guitar at the end.
Actually, I knew this because y'all released the video on Instagram.
Yep.
Did you finish the song the next time you saw him?
We finished it that day. I mean,
Finished
he
that
played
day.
a bunch of guitar. I took all his guitar parts back. We arranged it, which is a fun, exciting adventure, like going through John Mayer guitar parts. That was rather surreal.
What's your favorite line in the song?
Probably the first verse, because I just think it's fucked. Like the first verse is just like really twisted. I also think like this song is a little bit me asserting definitively at the beginning of this album that I'm not suggesting any of the songs are how we should feel about things. Because this song is so clearly a toxic approach.
Right.
Because I don't write songs to tell people how I think they should feel about things. I write songs to synthesize in music form what I have felt about things. That doesn't mean I think it's the right approach.
Right.
And all over the album, there's things that I wouldn't say like, here's my song, in your breakup, I think, try feeling like this. It's not that. And I think the song was the most not a suggestion. And I wanted that to kind of introduce the broader ideas.
Well, I think that's what you do so well is like you can pinpoint very specific emotions that we're like, wait, we know that emotion, you know what I mean? But it's nothing that you necessarily hear all the time. I'm curious for you working on your album now, are we gonna hear?
It's done.
The album's done?
Done.
Do you have a release date?
It's September, yeah, it's coming out.
Okay, we're so excited about that. What can you tell us about the album?
Well, it's the most emotionally broad thing I've ever done. It's more about myself than I've ever put in an album. What can I tell you about the album?
Wait,
I wanna
emotionally
say,
broad,
Yeah,
really? Like,
there's
what
like-
do you just feel a lot in the
There's
album?
more of a spectrum of feelings.
Huh.
It's
Like what?
happier.
Okay.
There's moments of like, I don't know, it's just like a little freer. I think my goal for this album was to not limit it to an exploration of any specific emotion, because I think our emotions and our moments are at their best when there are a lot of things at the same time. You know, I feel the most human when there's like a bunch of feelings interjecting at the same time.
Yeah.
And I used to think when I had a bunch of feelings about a thing that it meant one of them was the real one and all the other ones were like not how I felt. Like if
Or
something
one took priority and you like focus on that?
Kinda, like if something made me simultaneously angry, excited, happy, frightened, turned on, I would be like, okay, one of those is it, and the other ones are all masquerading how I actually feel.
And now we get all 5.
Well, I think as a person I've recognized it now, like life is actually better when I leave room for all of those things to exist at the same time.
Oh
And
my,
I think
that's so exciting.
the album is a little bit me exercising creatively something I'm trying to figure out in my own life, which is how to allow a gray area of emotions to all kind of exist together.
Do you feel proud of this album? Like, how do you feel
Yeah,
about it?
I really love it.
Do you?
Yeah, I like listening to it.
Oh, I cannot wait to hear. Okay, so you're joining John Mayer back on tour, which is so exciting. Will you be playing some of the new
Yeah,
tracks?
because the album comes out before the tour.
Okay.
So I
and
will
then
play
this
some
is
of it.
the second leg of the John Mayer tour. Are you doing anything different this time? Any other surprises up your sleeve for the shows?
I mean, everyone was different because it's just like a whole spontaneous mess. But like that's what makes it fun, because you're just hanging out with a person telling you about themselves with an instrument, and it's completely solo. So it'll probably be a completely different set. I mean, I'll still play If the World Was Ending, and I'll still play A Little Bit Yours, because those songs like just I can't not play them.
Yeah.
I love them too much.
Like, it's so cool that you get an up-close personal relationship with John Mayer, which I feel like he's so talented. Is there anything that like you've noticed about him that like we as the fans or the audience don't get to see that like you really admire about him?
That's interesting. I mean, I don't really know what y'all are seeing, so I can't speak.
That's fair.
I can't speak to misconceptions, but the John Mayer that I know
Yeah, what
has
do you love
just,
about John? Tell me
he's
that.
just been kind and generous and so gracious in looking out for not just me, but a generation of young songwriters that I think he wants to support and fight for art that he thinks is great. And I think there's a lot of like songwriters in my world who have been mentored by him in one way or another.
That's amazing. I was going to ask you too, really quick before we go, who do you like listening to right now? Like, because I feel like you're such an amazing songwriter. Do you have other people that you like really, really like?
The two people I'm listening to the most right now are Lizzie McAlpine and Holly Humberstone.
Oh, nice. Oh, I love them both.
Me too.
That's great.
They're so good.
So good. Well, JP, we're so excited for you. It's always good to chat with you. 3 years later, this is so fun. Before we let you go, one thing we like to do at iHeart is obviously all of our fans are watching.
Are we playing a game?
We're not going to play
No,
a game. You know,
okay.
normally I like to play games.
That's okay.
Sad, we ran out of time. But if you want to send a message to your fans that are watching this video right now, what would you want to say to them?
Well, it depends on the moment you're watching this, time of day, emotional space. It's hard for me to give you like a broad message that I think applies to all of you in any sort of way, so I'll keep it generic. Feel your feelings. If you don't let yourself feel the sucky ones, you can't feel the good ones either. I'm sorry that's scary, but you know, just go do it and you can listen to my songs to help. Love you, bye.
We love you, JP. One more time, JP Saxe at iHeartRadio. Thanks again for being here, JP. And of course, thank you all for watching. Make sure you stream all of JP Saxe's music on iHeartRadio.
All of
See you
them.
next time. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Did you like that video? You can check out more over here. And don't forget to subscribe to iHeart right here. And if you're already a longtime fan, make sure you ring the bell down below so you don't miss a single video. Bye guys.